Hey y'all, I'm Kate with Salty Katie, and today we're talking 21 hobbies to try out in 2021. So let's get into it. Oh, just a housekeeping note before we get started. This hot mess you see in the background, please ignore it. My next video is going to be about like a clean with me here in the studio, and I either had time to take all this crap down in the background or film today, so I chose to film. Y'all don't care, do you? Surely you don't. Okay, so you might ask why I talk about hobbies. Well, here's the deal, Pickle. They're good for you, number one. They are life enriching. You can learn new skills. They can help you relieve stress. For my entire life, they've helped me to manage depression and anxiety. They are entirely worthwhile endeavors as far as I'm concerned. The second reason is I came up in a hobby household. My daddy might well throw down and replace the hot water heater. The next day he'll be out back woodworking and making some really fine furniture. The next day he'll be out putting a two-stroke motor on a steel frame bicycle. Anything and everything. My mama is the same way. She paints, she learns new languages, she steadily takes college classes, she does cross stitch, anything and everything. We came up busy. Mama made us Play-Doh one time. Did you know you can make homemade Play-Doh? Apparently you can. We made gingerbread men and decorated them. We made homemade pretzels. We always had stuff to do. I came up with a needle in my hand. I was making baby clothes at 6 or 7 years old. So just my whole life, hobbies have been available to me because of how I was raised, and yeah, I think they're awesome. This is an example of a hat I knitted several years ago. This is Daisy, our shop mascot. She's a big old crocheted hippo. Look at her butt. Is that not the funniest thing you've ever seen? Mama made Daisy shortly after she retired. I said, "Oh, Mama, you got time to make me this pattern I found online." And she said, "Okay." So she downloaded the pattern. It ended up being 36 pages. God knows how long it took her to make it. But seriously, you see anything cuter than that today? No, probably not. So let's get into the first two of our hobbies, knitting and crochet. Okay, so let's talk number one and number two, knit and crochet. You can get some really amazing yarn. All you need is a hook like this if you want to crochet, or some needles if you want to learn to knit. There are tons of books and videos out there, and both are really great hobbies. You know, they tell you to meditate. I say don't meditate, I say knit. It's very calming, very soothing, and you can make anything from blankets to hats. This is an infinity cowl I made recently. And then here is my skull and bones ear flap hat. I made this several years ago. You saw it earlier in the introduction. Totally worthy hobbies to try and take up. Number three is cross stitch. And you can make anything from this tiny little zombie guy here all the way up to big wall hangings. You can just download the patterns off the internet and pick up the different colored threads you need. And it's kind of like paint by number, only with cross stitch stitches, which are super easy to do. Again, this is really soothing and fun, and you can get some really awesome patterns these days. The next is quilting. I've been quilting for years. You can make everything from tiny little quilts to big, huge bed-size quilt. You can do it by hand. You can do it on a regular sewing machine you got from Walmart. I'm showing you here a quilt sandwich I made several months ago and just haven't actually done the quilting for yet. It is a lot of fun, and you can make, they have such beautiful modern patterns these days. A lot of fun. Here's an oldie but a goodie. This is macrame. I can remember my mama doing this 30 years ago, I want to say, but it's just macrame cord that you knot in particular ways, and you can make wall hangings. And in this case, I made a little plant hanger. It's the first one I've ever done. The quote-unquote string is really cheap on Amazon. Yeah, it's pretty fun to give it a try. Something totally different I'd never done before. Number 6 is Leathercraft. This can be a little more involved and a little more expensive than your average craft, but it's certainly very rewarding. You can get small pieces of leather at your local leather shop, like say there's a Tandy Leather near you. You can get leatherworking kits for reasonable prices, just to get started off Amazon. You can start with a quilt ruler and a rotary cutter. You do not need a sewing machine. You can absolutely sew leather by hand. It's been done like that for forever. But it can be kind of expensive if you really get off into it, but also super rewarding. The next are journaling and art journaling. Here I'm just showing you my regular journal. This is a B6 Slim Nanami Cafe Note I cut down to an A6. I got some stickers all over the place. And it's just my regular pen and paper journal. I use fountain pens and whatnot with it. And then here's sort of a level up to that, art journaling. You can get art journals all over the place. This one happens to be from Dina Wakley. I want to say it's got several different types of paper in it. I've really enjoyed it. And you can also get a lot of really attractive journaling supplies. Again, this is more Dina Wakley stuff. Some different stuff from Art by Marlene. Really love it. If you've been on this channel before, you're familiar with this, but here's an oldie but a goodie, scrapbooking. It's a really great way to sort of document your memories if you're not much of a journaler. All you need is a few photos and you can make some really cute stuff. You can also purchase scrapbooking kits. Here's one from Felicity Jane I'm showing you now. She always had my very favorite one. So you can get started for not a lot of money, but you can really fall down a rabbit hole if you're not careful. Number 9 is hand lettering. I'm showing you an example of a relatively inexpensive brush pen here. This is a Tombow, but you can also use Crayola Super Tips, from what I understand, to do hand lettering. Here's a Scribbles That Matter empty notebook I had. I cannot show you any examples of my hand lettering because I absolutely suck at it, but I know a lot of people in our community really, really enjoy it. Super cheap to get started. Here's something called diamond painting that my mama introduced me to. It's kind of similar to, again, to paint by number, except there's a sticky back photo here that you stick on these tiny little plastic bits called drills. You see all the different colors there? I'm going to show you how tiny they are. So tiny. And they weigh almost nothing, so they'll skitter across the top of your table. But I also find this activity super soothing, very easy, and very cheap. You just use a little tool and stick the little drills onto the backing paper, and bingo, you've got a really pretty thing. So the next is puzzles, which was kind of surprising to me. I got bored and picked one up and ended up really enjoying it. Like all normal people, I pull out the edge pieces and put them in a Ziploc bag. But the kind of puzzles I prefer are these that I'm like what I'm showing you, with all kinds of odd little things in it. It makes it easier to find and place the pieces. Actually, surprisingly fun. Okay, so there's some awesome hobbies to try. We've been mostly inside to this point, so let's start off with some indoor-outdoor hobbies and then just go outside all together. So let's do some outside activities, shall we? Number 14 here is bird watching. Now, I know this sounds kind of odd, but all you need to do this is a bird feeder and some black oil sunflower seed. I'll place the links to the stuff down below. All I'm doing right here is filling up my bird feeder, which I will also link below because it's really good. And you just wait for about 4 or 5 days for the birds in your neighborhood to figure out that there's a feast on, and here they'll come. And you will be absolutely surprised at the number of birds, the types of birds, how pretty they are. It's been a lot of fun for me to put the feeders out because I have this ugly lantern thing in my front yard, y'all, that was here when I bought the house. And so I'm like, well, I'm just gonna hang some bird feeders off of it and plant some crap underneath it, of which my gardenia I think has completely died after the snowmageddon. And I'm about to almost get bit by a wasp here. Ooh. Anyway, you don't have to have these things, but I keep a bird book and some binoculars, and I can just sit in my front window and watch there went some wildlife right there. It is actually a lot of fun, you guys. Really cannot recommend enough. Okay, so let's talk photography and videography, or vlogging. I'm showing you 3 different camera options here. This is about $300 for a GoPro, $500 or $600 for a Canon. I think it's a G7X Mark II. Really good for vlogging. The next step up is that big old Canon there. That's in the neighborhood of a couple of $1,000 once you add the lens in. None of these are actually necessary. Most of us are carrying around a really powerful camera in the form of our cell phone. And to prove that, I filmed the majority of this video on my iPhone. Nothing attached to it, just straight up filming with it. So the expensive equipment is not necessary if you want to get into photography or videography. You can even edit videos on your phone as well, so you don't even necessarily have to have a computer to get this done. If you just want to post online, or if you're more interested in just doing stuff for your family to see and for your own enjoyment, you could go the rest of your life and still not learn everything there is to learn about photo and video. It can be super rewarding. I mean, you could totally become the photo person at your next family reunion. I find it super rewarding, a lot of fun, mildly aggravating. Yeah, it's a good choice for a hobby. The next is gardening. I am not a gardener, but I know a lot of people really enjoy it. The best I do is clean the weeds out of my flower beds, and that's about it. But you can certainly garden at your house or even in containers. I've had really good luck with maters and peppers and herbs, that kind of thing. My latest hobby is orchid keeping, which I have titled Orchid Trying, because if you ever fool with orchids, you probably killed some. Here's a Phalaenopsis that's in rehab. Here's a Scaphosepalum something or other with the tiniest flower I've ever seen. Here's a little temperature and humidity gauge off Amazon, super cheap. A few Bulbophyllum Fascinator, Haiku Gold. Here's the flowers off the Phalaenopsis that's rehabbing. A lady slipper, and this is a Phalaenopsis Yaphan. Oh my god. And that's the actual name. Here's my little setup on my kitchen window here. Been having a real blast with this. I'll leave some links below. Okay, so Skating is a hobby I have attempted before. In fact, with the roller derby, but I was so heavy at the time and just unfit, and the pandemic hit, so it kind of took me off of the whole skating thing. And you're gonna see here, I'm gonna attempt to skate towards the camera just to get y'all some footage, and it's not getting ready to work out. But I know for a lot of people, skating is a lot of fun. You can often find rinks in your area. Yeah, I am personally not willing to fall and hurt something that would cause me to not be able to run, especially since I had 2 surgeries last year to make it where I could run. But skating's an option. So next is the only hobby on our list that I have not personally done. So I don't have any footage of me actually doing this particular hobby. But I did find a hiker out in the wild, and I have some footage of that to show you. So I've never done hiking or backpacking before, but I've been very interested in it. I don't know. I like the idea of through hiking, you know, the Appalachian Trail and stuff like that. I do have some concerns primarily about hygiene and getting lost in the woods and getting eaten by a mountain lion and crap like that. But I have been thinking about taking some shorter day hikes and just trying it out. I know it's a really rewarding hobby for a lot of people. So I've saved the very best for last, and it is running. Why running, you might ask? It is maybe the single most beneficial activity that I have engaged in, and has brought the largest return to my life, basically. So I can't help talking about it. We'd be here for 3 years if I said everything I wanted to say about running, so let's just get into it. Okay, so here's some actual footage of what it looks like when I run. It is pitch dark outside, but just for funsies, here's some not actual footage of me on a typical run. I had to wait till it lit up outside so I could show y'all what it looks like. But as I said, I think it's basically the most beneficial activity I have ever engaged in. There's nothing you can't get through if you run through it. It allows you to celebrate the good days and to grieve your losses equally well. Maybe just one of the better things I've ever done, and one of the most favorite things I've ever done, and I really cannot recommend it enough. 2 quick tips if you'd like to run are: 1, get a decent pair of running shoes, and 2, give it 90 days before you decide whether you like running or not. Now watch, my neighbor kitty is actually on the ground rubbing against my tripod as I'm trying to film this. So, one note, if you cannot run, either because you don't want to, or you have some kind of physical limitation, it's too much impact, swimming is absolutely an alternative that is just as good. And I don't mean dicking around with a pool noodle. I mean swimming laps. Do that for an hour. It will only benefit you, only benefit your heart, only make you feel better. Swimming's a total blast. Plus, I don't know about y'all, the smell of chlorine, love it. Anyway, so there are our 21 hobbies to try in 2021. I would love it if you would leave me down below your hobbies, maybe some hobbies that you'd like to try. Let me know what you think about the hobbies we've listed here so far. So anyway, thank y'all so much for watching. I cannot wait to see you back here next week for another video. And I gotta go because me and my best friend are meeting for margaritas later.